Molly. Okay. Perfect. Welcome. Okay. All right. Now that we have that, okay, the date is Monday, May 12th, 2025. We are at 5:48 p.m. and I'm calling that meeting that I just said for Monday, May 12th at 5:48 p.m. Belchertown Creative Economy meeting to order. Can I have a second? No, we don't need any of that. Thank you. All right, calling it to order. So we have a big agenda tonight with couple big priorities to get through. So we're going to try to move through updates and then move through kind of updates and events in a way where we can discuss, but making sure we're keeping to the point tonight to make sure that we get through this agenda. So our first is our public speak, any upcoming events to note, announcements and updates.
Got a couple.
Yeah.
The one I'm really involved with, June 21st, White Day. That's why I'm growing this mustache.
Nice.
I'm portraying Belchertown's own author, famous author who basically made more money than Mark Twain did, and nobody knows of him.
Is it Josiah Holland?
Is it
Josiah
Holland? Yeah. He's going to be appearing in conversation with Emily Dickinson. So that's the history part. Then we're going to have live music at 4, food, and a lot of nature this year. Kestrel's coming, some fish and wildlife people are coming, a pollinator lady's coming. People love the pollinator talk last year. So press release will be out within a week or two. Posters we're waiting for it. It's in development. The last year's poster was beautiful. This is the second year we've done it, June 22nd. And then the week before that, I'll also add the Lafayette thing, which everybody's probably seen the announcements on that. Although I haven't seen a lot of announcements on White Day. Although I did send it to you. Yeah, I sent it. So, oh, great. So I'm trying to get the word out. And anyway.
Let's say 21st or something.
21st, Saturday, yeah.
Okay.
Good.
Yeah, it should be good this year. It's our second year, so maybe it'll go off fewer hitches.
Yeah, it was good last year.
Oh, yeah, you went? Okay. Yeah, there was a good turnout.
There was a good turnout.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're figuring Emily's gonna draw a lot of people. So.
Josiah Holland is going to draw a lot. Josiah Holland!
Nobody knows about Josiah Holland.
All right. Am I the only one?
Everybody knows about Emily.
Sorry.
Nobody,
Okay.
You and me might be the only ones, actually.
Okay.
Emily, who?
Yeah.
I know, right? Yeah.
That
There
sounds
might
very
be some
exciting.
Amherst people coming.
Yeah.
So,
We charge an admission.
right. It is free.
Okay, and I heard Lisa already has all the details on that, or getting you details for that.
Yes.
That's exciting.
Yeah, I sent her a little teaser. Do you want the press release when we get that out? Okay.
Send it to the events.
Okay.
When it goes out.
Oh, okay, great.
Yep.
Yeah, and then we'll put this in. I might write an article.
That's very cool. Other public speak events?
Coming like down the road, Quabbin Days is going to come. It's October 10th through 13th. Just to put it on people's radar. The library's going to try to come up with some partnering events, and the Friends of the Quabbin are doing things. So they're trying to also get the surrounding area to bring tourists to the Quabbin and to Belchertown.
You know that the Quilt Arts Center was a family here from Belchertown who grew up in the administration building. Their father was the engineer for Quabbin. So the hairdresser that's right there next to ours, she grew up in the administration building. Her nephew has just finished a run all about Quabbin, about the towns that were flooded and everything else. It's kind of like a one-man play at the Quilt Center for the Arts. And he came here and did a video here, maybe last week or the week before. Probably last week. His name is Jason Mellon.
Like the fruit?
M-E-L-L-I.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
I think it's really neat. But anyway, Jason Mellon, Quilt Art Center. And the performance got rave reviews because the people out that way don't know anything about farming. And of course, tied to his family here. And I'm saying, I'll bet you could get
That sounds
And if it's helpful, so you said that's in October, so if it's helpful, we can put it on the agenda at a closer date, just for any support you need and check in, if that helps.
Yeah.
it. And
Excellent.
I can get his contact information
Yeah.
from Kathy.
Yeah.
So the owner of Making Waves, the hair salon,
Okay.
that's her name.
okay.
All right.
I might also add, has anybody heard of John Freeman, the African American, that's the Monuments Committee is gonna put on the monument?
Hmm.
Did Cliff talk about him?
Yeah, they agreed to do it, and I didn't know if anybody, they were talking about Memorial Day, do they usually do something Memorial Day?
Yeah.
In the common? Okay, so that could be happening, I don't have any information, I'm not really involved in it. But if there's a soldier who lived here most of his life and served for another state, I believe, maybe Massachusetts as well, but we convinced through documentation to put him on the monument, the African American soldier. Which I think would be the only one
Hmm.
in Belchertown on the monument.
Hmm.
Yeah. You heard about that? No?
I'm trying to remember if I have.
Okay, anyway, I thought maybe they were gonna do it sooner, but I was gonna look into it.
I think Mr. Freeman is mentioned in the Belchertown book that Cliff endorsed it.
Freeman is, yeah,
That's great.
Great.
Makes sense, yeah.
yeah.
That'd be great to get more information on that. That would be definitely something to highlight.
That's coming pretty,
Yeah, very soon.
very soon.
Very soon. Too soon. All right.
And one more thing, so
Yeah.
Doug and I attended the Massachusetts Trails for All,
Hmm.
Accessible Trails for All,
Yeah.
the Accessibility Forum, and came up with some really good ideas about developing what could be a statewide sort of clearinghouse for trails of all different types of accessibility levels. But also, I got excited about the idea of possibility of connecting with other Friends of the Trail groups,
Hmm. Yeah.
which I think could be good.
Could be very good.
That could be.
That's great. With the Lake Wallace Trail, I am finishing cleaning as we speak, the holders for the signs on Lake Wallace. So we'll finally have a story up there. I have the story in the garage. Jennifer gave me the story to use. We repainted any signs that had rust on them, and then we're just waiting. The rain finally stopped, so they should be nice and washed now. So before pollen builds again, we'll finally have that story trail going, and there will be extra slots available. So if there's thought, I'll count how many extra slots are, send it out, and if there's any thoughts of anything else to fill those extra slots, we'll have the full piece. And I'm working on engineering them so they'll be easier to open. So I'm going to try to use screwable magnets to see if that'll make them a little bit easier to open with a latch. Yeah, because right now it takes a little while to get in there. Yeah. But speaking of the trail, we'll have that hopefully up finally soon.
What's the theme of the story?
The story that Jennifer picked was one that they already had. It's a nice, just cute spring story about animals and everything. And then I want to put it out. I have to figure out how to put it out to just strategize
For the
kind of how do we keep updating? How do we rotate? Because I want to use student work. I want to use the historical context work. So I think we'll be able to create, now that we know how to get into them and get them set up, we can then create kind of a calendar and then say, okay, what's the rotation? Yeah. Okay. Any other public speak for right now?
Yep, I can share a few things. Before I do, I just wanted to flag for everyone's awareness in case the folks here don't know that, because the BCC just recently discovered that these meetings that we're in are automatically recorded and posted to the YouTube channel publicly, and none of us were made aware, so that it came a little bit as a surprise, and I'm just trying to find out what the formal policy is around this on, retention and consent, because it's also kind of making its way to Facebook, and, not everybody shares my view, but personally, I don't really want my image and voice published online without notice, especially. So I want to make everybody aware in case we hadn't noticed that quite yet, because it seems pretty new. In terms of events, the story trail, if we are looking for student work, we did fund a literary journal. I think that event may have just taken place. So we have a little in there if you're wanting to reach out and find students who are interested in story writing. June 1st is the Scarborough Art Garden Flowers of Invention Festival, the open house portion. And I wish Lauren was here because it's his event. It's 5:30 to 8:30 p.m. on that Sunday. It sounds really, really cool. We have June 6th at 2 p.m., Life with Bill, a new model for aging. That's happening at the Senior Center. And hopefully all of these have made it to the events inbox. We're pushing folks that way and sending them ourselves. And then the other one that's happening in the next month is a series called Echoes in Nature, June 7th, 18th, and 22nd at different locations around town. And it's a couple of people who are writing poetry and songs based on the local area and the community. And they'll share them back with us.
Thank you.
That's it.
Thank you. All right. Number 3, approval of the April meeting minutes. Last meeting, I forgot my Massachusetts regulations and I made a motion, so I am not making motion, so I'll need someone else to make a motion. So if somebody can make a motion of the April meeting minutes.
I make a motion that we accept the April meeting minutes as written.
Okay.
Second.
All right. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed? And then Molly said aye as well. All opposed? Any abstain? Okay. All right. I'll give you one moment, Cindy. Let me know if you need any. You got it? Okay. All right. And number 4, our discussion and action items. So project update. I put the mural project right at the top. So we'll do an update for the mural project, and we can discuss the trash gala, because that'll be one of the next steps with that project. And I see Linda on and Maud here for the update.
We just had a conversation to really flesh out this program. So, and we have 2 key questions for everyone today, but the quick outline is that the Trash Gala is first and foremost a dedication event for the 3 murals. And it'll be a celebration of community with family activities on the theme of sustainability. It's going to feature a trash fashion contest where attendees are going to be invited to come in wearable art made from upcycled materials, and they will win prizes. Those prizes may be kind of more like a trip to the swap shop kinds of things. There's also going to be tabling activities led by our group and other partners for all ages. And again, on the theme of sustainability, there's a few things like a craft station, collage table, paper doll coloring from Cowan's, like paper doll outlines, things like that. Inviting energy and sustainability to do a composting demo, maybe a clothing repair station. So if you have ideas for something, please do reach out if there's anything that you want to lead, or if you have a connection that we can kind of tap into. We're also thinking there'll be a short speaking program that will feature some of the project leaders, leadership, perhaps someone from MRF, which is the next place in the cycle for a lot of these materials. Any legislators who arrive, and I have some things to do there. So The first question we want to confirm is around date. So the ideal date that we came to with the school year ending on June 17th, but also wanting to allow our muralists the maximum amount of time, given all the rain days and the schedules of life, was Friday, June 13th, which is pretty soon, with a rain date of Saturday, June 14th. And to do it, and then the transfer station closes at 3:30 p.m. So, and for a 2-hour long event, we're thinking something like 4 to 6. Thoughts? Are there other conflicting events that we didn't know about? Well, that's where we started, was like, what can't we do?
Because I'm only telling you because you put me down for something.
Yeah, the collage table, right?
I did just see that in Granby Charter Days, right? Like,
Oh, is
that
it?
13th, 14th, 15th.
I think the Belchertown Living History is on the 14th.
Yeah, you're right.
It is, yeah.
And Lafayette's coming to town, so that's a big kind of day, the 14th.
Well, that would be the,
That's the rain
You're saying
date.
later.
that's the rain date.
Oh, the 14th's the rain day.
Yeah, it would be Friday, June 13th,
Oh, 13th, okay.
from 4 to 6.
Oh, it's gonna rain then.
And Lafayette, I think, is done by 3.
It's done by 3, okay.
Yeah, and this would be in the, if it was a, yeah,
Early evening.
early, yeah.
Does that date sound, are there any other potential conflicts? We did have another like backup date in mind, but it's just not ideal.
I mean, a lot of residents do go to charter days, but it's a fun event in town, and we're not gonna hit every conflict possible. Yeah.
I'm just putting.
Oh, yeah, no, that's a good one, because a lot of residents do go to, what days are the fireworks?
Yeah,
That's the bigger question.
Probably Saturday.
Saturday, okay.
Okay.
Yeah,
So as long as
I'd
it's
say
not
I'd say if the fireworks were although they would be later if you did 4 to 6.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
So I think,
They wouldn't be until 9:30 or something.
yeah,
So,
sure.
So are we good with the 13th, 14th as a rain date?
A Friday the 13th trash
Friday the
gala.
13th, yeah.
Sounds fun.
Spooky gala.
Yeah.
Spooky gala.
Spooky gala.
Okay, the second thing is that Linda and her team have sourced materials at a lower rate than we expected.
Oh.
So we are slightly under budget, and our grant is flat $15,000. So we need to figure out how to prioritize. We have a certain amount for this event already kind of set aside, just like a few hundred dollars. But we have, it looks like $1,000 roughly that we are kind of off the mark. So we're trying to figure out what else to spend this money on that's related. A couple of ideas that came up were pollinator starts that we can give away, perhaps get an extra fee to the artist to make coloring pages, and then pay for the production costs for making coloring books, or
reusable bags.
reusable bags.
I'm thinking of something, if we could put the image of a mural on or something that could like, if that was okay with an artist, though I don't know how that works with our contract with them, but yeah. That would be really cool to kind of find a way to make these live on. I would totally buy a tote bag with that on the side, with the murals on the side.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That'd be cool.
Even if it was just, I mean, I'm picturing it like, just 3
Yeah,
panels with
Of, like,
some
the pieces
feature
of it.
of each
Yeah.
of the 3.
that could be cool. Sticker, yes.
It is a love sticker.
Reusable water bottle.
Yeah.
Yep, with the, yep,
Not doing the trash thing.
Yep.
Yeah.
yeah,
I don't know about you
Favor.
guys, but I have like 7,000 reusable.
I know.
About
Yeah.
7,000 total.
Yep, yep.
But you make it
Yeah.
to a beach, right?
Yeah.
They're not cheap, right? And then you give out what we've got, and
Yeah. Okay, so it sounds like making an object would be the preference,
Party favor.
like a reusable something that's
something,
like,
yeah.
yeah.
I like the idea of a reusable bag.
Object featuring the artwork reusable. would be the
And I-
goal. We
Yeah.
can kind of figure out then within our budget what the what is, or maybe a mix.
We can't just give away real trash bags.
We were thinking.
Give
of
away
giving
towns.
bags.
Can we get,
Transfer station
no, but
bags.
seriously though, I
And you know,
giving away transfer bags, that's money. That's,
Yeah,
that's, those costs, so.
Those cost money, that's what
Yeah.
I was thinking. Let's give away the transfer
I,
station
you
bags.
know.
I might even encourage other people to spend these.
Linda's trying to get out this one.
Yeah, I like Linda's on the
She's
camera.
trying to calculate.
So Linda, how does,
Well, I mean, doing bags definitely would be a great idea, and even like a grand prize could be a station sticker.
Whoa.
so we're talking about giveaways and then to buy like stuff.
That's a big grand prize, like that is.
Yeah, depending on your age, it would be $135 or $110.
Yeah.
That's a valuable.
Yeah, that's a valuable prize.
People will show
It
up.
is.
We can advertise that.
Ooh.
But seriously, and we got $1,000 to spend, it's pretty easy to.
Yeah, okay.
Only do 2 of them.
Yeah. Okay, so we'll do a sticker, we'll buy a bunch of bags, and those will be like the prizes, and then with the rest of it, we'll do something like a tote bag. Sounds like.
I mean, if stickers are all we can do, I know stickers are kind of like not the whole reusable thing though, that's the only thing with, but yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
If there's
it's
something
nice.
cost effective, it is a nice prize, yeah.
Okay. Great. Thank you all.
Nice.
I did
Alright.
meet up with Josh today and his wife. They were out painting. He's gonna need a little more paint, and I do need to purchase some more varnish, but those were, I think, the only things outstanding. That's probably a couple $100.
Fantastic. Okay. And then once all the materials are purchased, we'll be able to figure out exactly how much we have then to put into this. Okay. Well, then we'll put out now that we have the date, we know all these things, and we know what the grand prize is gonna be, we can put out materials and really in earnest push this out to invite people. Cool, thank you.
Alright. You know,
Would that be awesome?
yeah. This will be great.
Offered to play, to come and play. We were thinking about it in terms of the Lake Wallace one in October.
A band
but-
or some type of band.
Yeah, she's an individual. I don't,
Oh,
No, we're already-
Kendra
Kendra.
offered to play.
Yeah.
Okay.
Music,
Music draws people.
recycling themed or folky?
So much is trashy.
Trashy.
All right, I promised we were staying on topic today. Fantastic. So it sounds like any assistance needed for that. Our next meeting is going to be
Like, just
the week that week. So that'll be good. So that week is our next meeting. So if there's any, I'll make sure it's on our agenda for the next meeting. So if there's any last minute kind of details you like the group really needs to throw together, yeah.
Just a couple other things. We talked at our meeting about selling or promoting stickers and bags. So I talked more with Donna about, that capability. And I think it might be a good idea to have a table with info about the transfer station and, people are interested in purchasing stickers and bags at that day. We could do that. I'm throwing it out there if you guys think that would be something to add in. And then my other question is, Josh is video recording his process, and I didn't know if we could have something set up there, a monitor playing it while people are at the gala. I don't know. I didn't know exactly how we were going to release that that process that he was working on.
Yeah, we had initially just talked about doing that on social media, but that's an interesting idea, kind of showing that during the event too.
Yeah, like on a reel, whatever. I don't know how long, whatever, if he can get it done and stuff like that.
Do we have a flat white wall out there? I'm just thinking the projector, projected on.
I mean, I own a couple of protractor screens if we need, if I'm sure I
For the
have a whole
screen,
setup,
yeah.
yeah.
Oh,
But it-
I was.
I don't know how well a
picturing it being on-
projector would work out there, but you might need a monitor.
Yeah.
At that time of day, I don't think,
Yeah.
I was
don't
thinking
think
just
the
on
projector would.
just a screen, on a table. People, when they're looking around, they maybe watch a little bit of the clips.
Well, my children left a couple of TVs of
Yeah.
this size that could be hooked up to.
I was gonna say,
computers.
I know Brian would help, and Esther even would probably help us figure
Yes,
that out,
definitely.
yeah. For sure.
I have one of those little projectors if you need one.
Nice.
Fantastic.
Okay.
So cool, put it into your phone, and everybody can see.
Very exciting. Any other updates, Linda?
No.
No? Okay.
That's all I got. Thank you.
No, perfect. Thank you, Linda. All right, that's exciting. Next item, viewfinder updates.
The last of the workshops was this past Saturday. Most of the workshops happened during rain. So there wasn't a lot of actual going out and taking pictures, but they were still very successful, especially the one at the Quabbin. We had, I think in part because it was at the Quabbin, but also it was on smartphone photography. So I think that was the a real big draw. And they had somebody from the Quabbin do a talk about like the wildlife you could find there. And it was one of the few that we had 26 people register and everybody showed up.
Oh, wow.
It never happens. So that's been really well. We are currently accepting submissions for the contest. We've had 2 so far.
And it's open till the end of
It's
the month.
open, yeah, it's open till May 30th.
And wasn't the kids workshop that was supposed to happen in the garden was canceled because of low enrollment?
It was, canceled during low enrollment, and thank goodness we did because it poured. So that was, a happy turnabout. And then we talked about rescheduling it and then decided with all the other things we had, we just couldn't do it. Yeah. But one of the 2 submissions we have is from somebody who attended the first youth workshop.
Okay.
So that's kind of cool.
They were
Nice.
enthusiastic.
Nice.
Yeah.
Oh, that's exciting.
We'll push on the staffed support dates at the library and the contest deadline. It will probably be like,
I've put it out once, but I'll recycle.
Yeah, we have like card things with the QR code to the submission form at the library that people can take with them, and we had them at the workshop to hand out. So hopefully we'll get a whole bunch more.
yeah. Well, Ed sent this report too.
Yeah.
There were like 10 to 15, 12 to 15 at the other 2 adult
Yeah.
workshops. So they've all been, even with the weather, really attended, or at least much more so than last year, which is the trajectory that, right?
Yeah, there were, what's the date? Saturday, the 3rd, when I was out there, the group came out onto the observation deck. And yeah, that was a good size group. Yeah. I did have a report that there's an osprey nesting in the old great blue heron nest.
Oh.
Like out in the
To be
middle.
out,
Oh,
yeah,
boy.
out in
Very cool,
Yeah,
but I
Martian.
wonder what the great blue heron thought coming back. Oh, geez. Very cool. That does. Oh,
That
that's
should be a
exciting.
story.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But we're gonna have to keep an eye on this one. This is developing. That's exciting. Wayfinding and branding update.
I can do the wayfinding piece at least. So we have been meeting with Steam Tech. They came and did a visit. They have all this survey data and also from the event that we did with the branding. And they have, we've gotten down to our prioritized locations, and then they're also splitting it out between like the different tiers of how to get people from here to there, all the paths between A and B of these priority locations, and kind of grouping things like first glance is like shopping, municipal, recreation, and then as you approach more specific signage to help direct people to get into things. So that's really coming together. All of the materials are really close with the exception of the sign templates themselves. But like the map of the signage plan is very, very close. And that's a huge piece of it. And the template piece is really awaiting the brand materials to be finalized. But our project manager for the wayfinding is in very close contact with our brand designer. And so she's seen the first round of logo design. She heard the feedback, like all of this kind of stuff. And so, I don't know, Molly, do you want to talk about the branding developments or where we're at right now, what we expect very soon?
Yeah, we're meeting Wednesday again to see the next iterations of the logo with the goal of having 2 distinctive options to share, to put out for a vote starting on the 15th, I believe, of May up until the 19th. And then the group will reconvene, review that, discuss, and hopefully have a single option to put forward to the select board meeting later that day to finalize a logo. So things are moving quite rapidly. We might have a logo in 1 week from today. And the designer, Katie, has been incredible. Like, she's very seasoned at this and very responsive and listened very well to the community input that she's gotten so far from our group and from her time visiting here. So all in all, yeah, full steam ahead. It's great.
Yeah, and last week she presented, full logo options. The week before was all these comps. So it's been really layered, and there's been lots of opportunity for feedback, revisiting the community feedback. Like, it's been a lot of toggling between every time more layers of that.
One of the questions I've heard come up in terms of like conservation areas and signage, and so I talked to Sarah Fortune, the conservation administrator, and they hadn't really thought about sort of what their image on signs and such would be. So it would be good to be able to work with them and also with the local land trust, who also will have trail signs and stuff, to try to get that coordinated. They are working on a couple of big projects in town and want to know that things will be consistent. So
That's great. I mean, last time I talked with Sarah Fortune, she said that they only had so much kind of agency over the final output in a lot of their partnerships, and there's already like established designs. So it's good to know that that partners are open.
yeah, they want to make sure that things kind of work together and don't clash.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
That's fantastic.
The wayfinding, we were talking about, different signs, and then as you get closer, the other signs, is Stantec, how are they working with our signage bylaws, which do not allow off-premises signage? Not allowed.
So they are not working in our signage bylaws. They're creating the templates and a signage.
I understand they're not working on our bylaws, but our bylaws say you cannot have any off-premises signs.
We'll fix it.
And then, this is
You know
part
how
of
I feel about this.
We know a guy.
We should not have laws on the books we can't or don't enforce, but we really have to look at that. But I'm just wondering if they've done it in accordance with our signage bylaws.
Well, it's a little bit further down. You're in front of us on the agenda,
Okay.
because that's something that's definitely on the table to address. In the works.
couple more points down on the agenda. We're talking about signage bylaw.
I know we are, because it
Okay.
was actually something we put on there. I just wanted to know if the work that they're doing is in accordance with our signage bylaws.
I mean, they have looked at all of our work. They know, I think they understand the challenges and also know what some of our next steps are. So they're working within what, like, where we project we're going to be soon.
You're trying really hard not to say, no, that they are not working within our signage bylaws. Because our sign, we've got bylaws that can only be changed at a town meeting. So it's at least a year away before they get changed.
And I think that's something that we'll keep following up with them, but I know they're working as a consultant with all the different town groups, yeah. Because it won't be necessarily business signage that they're doing, it's wayfinding, just street signage, yeah. So it's more the town controlled signage rather than once you get into the business, business ones. So this one's more, I just remember the meeting that I was at, I think I asked something similar. And this is more so when you get to the center of town, you'll see the arrows and everything kind of pointing down to shopping, down to this. And then when you get closer, it'll say like Belchertown Police Department this way. So they're not going to go as detailed as to those signs that you then see on the corner that we're going to try to help by looking at the signage bylaws. So it shouldn't trickle into that too much with what they're proposing, just for the true wayfinding. Yeah, because they asked that question at the meeting that I was attending, asking on, well, if you start putting like shop names or anything on it, if you start identifying names, that gets into too much layers. This is more generalized kind of, unless it's a municipal property, it sounded like it was, yeah. But we'll find out more as they release the
And it's more
information.
me not being like having it committed to memory, that I'm like, but exactly what Sarah's saying, that is not the plan, is for this to be affecting like business signage.
Yeah.
This is like how to get from general areas, basically, they've got us these like 4 zones, and they're trying to help people figure out how to get from one area to another. These more general pieces, and the focus is on municipal. It was all about.
It's automobiles too, isn't it? Automobile focused?
Yeah, at this stage.
Yeah.
So with these MDI grants, the focus has to be pretty narrow, and it has to be on a downtown. Because it doesn't exactly translate here, but they recognize that in smaller towns and rural areas, that it's gotta be on a town center or village or whatever that whatever that.
Like Amherst, I talked to Amherst and see they did something very similar, I'm assuming.
Yeah, they did, and they got us the same grant to support that.
Yeah.
Yeah, where did it a few years ago?
It'll be exciting to see it.
Yeah.
To see more directional pieces that looks the same.
Yeah. And they're getting it all unified.
Yeah.
That's what you said, they're gonna come up with a design and it's.
And then like consistent word choice too,
Yeah.
like the different buckets of things, like
Yeah.
recreation, shopping, just so people how that sounds.
Sure.
All right, and then we'll touch again on like the deeper, kind of get that update on the other signage bylaw and a couple bullet points. Okay. Next is a quick one, annual appointments. I need to send a memo by this Friday, just confirming we don't have any expiring in 2025. So what I wanted to just do is take a look at your name, make sure that what's next to it is correct. So I'll just confirm that what we have on there is correct. So I know, Luis, you want to change yours too. So it's changed since you have been put on.
I'm no longer a town employee.
I know. So community member? Or do you want to put, you can put like Wallace? I know. Oh.
But yeah, like it just depends how you define live, I suppose.
Yeah.
Entire career. So
Maybe you represent tourists.
I was gonna say like, well, you're on the Lake
Community,
Wallace.
I have the phrasing. I wrote it in the.
We could put Friends of Lake Wallace next to it as well if you want an association. But we could also just put
volunteer.
Yeah, we can put that.
So I'm like, so it doesn't.
Yeah.
I think that works
I
great.
don't know why I said
Lifetime.
Yeah, lifetime town employee forever.
Spent my life for 17 years, barely left the place.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Does anyone else have updates that they would like next to their name? Just give a moment, and I'll submit the memo hopefully tomorrow, but before Friday for sure. Okay, perfect. Thank you. Said that would be the quick one. All right, cultural district manager updates.
Great. Last time I talked a little bit about our follow-up from the MOT conference that Kate and I went to in March. We're continuing to work with a small little group to figure out what direction we want to go in. It kind of seems like we're working toward figuring out some sort of visit Belchertown website. It would be an extension from the town website. We're still in the very beginning stages of talking about this. It's kind of modeling it off of what river culture looks like. So it's events, of course I don't have it in front of me, it's events, outdoor recreation, food, drinks, tourism, what else, like where to stay, that kind of
Shopping.
thing. Shopping,
Yep.
yeah, retail, just to kind of slay the stage, set the stage, I guess I should say, for Belchertown as a tourist destination. So that's the big takeaway from the mock conference about where we're going. I'm also going to start having conversations with Cheryl and Jill and other folks from the Historical Association to come up with a pitch to Yankee Magazine about highlighting some of the historical assets and features that Belchertown is known for. Yep, so that will happen when we can align our schedules. The other big thing that I'm trying to push, and I could use any help you guys have to offer, is a call for events for summer. I'm trying to work on a summer event calendar just to highlight what's going on in June, what's happening in July, what's happening in August, just to give people an overview. So if you hear of anything, you message me directly, email events@belchertown.org. Got a pretty good list for June. I am missing the community band concert, so if anybody has a connection, yeah, or knows where to find that information, I haven't been able to locate it for this year. Yeah, that would be great.
Shouldn't it be here in town hall, because they have reserved comment?
So I could also ask Terry.
Right.
Or almost.
If you're using, oh, yeah.
You have to reserve the comment, so what I'm saying is
Terry might
should
have
be in this
it.
building somewhere.
Right.
No,
Finnerty.
Yeah, I could contact Finnerty and ask them. Thank you for that, because I was struggling about where to find that information. Another update, I think I had mentioned how last time I was applying to put in a mini pitch through FIFA and Massachusetts Youth Soccer. I've applied, still waiting to hear. They're putting 20 mini pitches throughout New England, so if we get chosen, that would be great. But I'm sure the applicant pool is also significant. We'll see what happens. I've also reached out to the FIFA Boston coordinator about hosting a regional fan zone out here too. So we'll see what happens, right? As Jen says, we're just throwing spaghetti at the wall and see what sticks. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Just again, if you have anything going on, please email us so we can highlight it.
How's it going on social media? Are you getting responses from general public?
Yes, so actually, pull it up real quick. Who did I share it with? Our metrics are pretty awesome. So where is it? Basically, since I started posting regularly in probably like February, our reach has gone up. Was it like 40%? It was a significant reach. So even in the last 28 days, it's gone up 16%. What's funny is,
But is like the general public sending you their requests through social? Like,
oh, that's what you're asking.
Yeah,
Oh, you're asking
like,
about
no,
like our reach.
No, I know your reach is getting, because so many people are talking about it, it's great to know the numbers, but I'm just wondering if when you put the like even, as just a person, you know, I put that thing, like, bring us your families and factories on that thing. I got so many responses with people just replying down the list. You know, like sort of keeping it separately, so I wouldn't always have to find that Facebook page, you know, that posting. But I was just wondering if if you want to make it as easy as possible. Sometimes if you think, you know, email here to tell me, let them tell you right there.
Usually the call is to email us or send us a
Right.
direct message. We are getting more emails than direct messages.
Oh, good.
I'm doing a lot of
Good.
hunting on my own.
Yeah.
Which is time consuming, which is why I'm also like, please send me your information. But it's fine. It's fine. Everything's fine. We're fine. Everything's good, right?
I think I have that t-shirt.
Yeah. But no, I mean, it's going well. And I think between the posting on Facebook and Instagram as well, the Instagram reach isn't as big as Facebook. But we're just getting out there. We're building a following, and I think, you know, information is good.
Lisa, did you say you were looking for details about the Belchertown Community Band?
Yeah, just the dates for the band, not
Okay.
not the one that the BCC is sponsoring in June. I have that, but just the community band concerts.
Yeah, we're sponsoring that as well.
Oh, okay.
But, yeah, so Melanie, we have like a point person for each event. Melanie's the point person for that one if we wanted to connect with her, because our tracker just says July to August. So as far as I know, we don't have dates nailed down either.
Those they're usually on Thursdays, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I'll get in touch with Mel.
Yeah. And then this is backtracking a little, but I don't know if the town has appetite to boost posts on social media, like throw some of the dollars from the Mural event toward a paid sponsored ad on Facebook, and that could increase the reach for that particular event, but also for the town in general. I don't think it costs all that much to reach our particular audience, if that was something that we're wanting to experiment with.
Yeah, I don't know how to actually practically have our grant pay for a Facebook ad, but.
Right, because you have to do your credit card.
Oh,
Yeah, it's always like boost your post. I don't know, you know, they make it sound easy to boost your post. I don't know how easy it actually is.
It's very easy.
It's very
You know,
easy.
Yeah.
It's very easy, but
you
yeah.
just need a credit card, and
Yeah.
then it basically tells you how much to spend per day. if
I
you
always
wanna
question the full reach, yeah, but it is easy to do.
I don't know, I did it when I had my personal training
That's same
business.
with Pips,
Yeah,
yeah.
I did it, and I don't think it was
Yeah.
worth it in the
Okay.
end, especially
Okay.
if you are limited. Well, I mean, you're looking for a certain audience,
And
right?
the geographic.
Very
Yeah.
nice.
Yeah, it's a very small audience that you're going to try to reach with
I
it.
think like a larger scale event that we're trying to reach, Northampton, Amherst, because what happened to me is I ended up having people start ordering from way out, like past Northampton, and then I went, wait, what? No, that's a little further than I planned. So I think if we have a bigger event, that could definitely be a conversation if we want the reach to kind of be past the town.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Like,
Yeah, absolutely. Then I would say that it could be valuable because it will get you past your town space out to where you might not usually show up. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay.
Jen just went out, sorry, that's okay. The last thing I just wanted to touch on is, I'm sure we've all heard about the vandalism at Lake Wallace. And something that came out of our conversation today with the radically rural quilt was possibly having an educational event about all of the features of Lake Wallace and why you have the knobs on the post, why there are the stands with the braille, why there are the cement blocks before you hit the gravel, so that way you could tell the terrain is going to change. That might be something too that might be, worth looking into.
And that's one of the things that came up in the accessibility forum, was just educating people like what's actually there and why is it there.
Yeah.
It's been a long time since we've done anything around it, and maybe we can include something in the grand opening. We can do a grand opening for the phase 2 and 3. that could be worked into it pretty.
That would be cool.
Have somebody talk about ADA.
Mhm.
Yeah, even Kate and I went to a breakout session about accessibility
Mhm.
on recreational trails.
Yeah.
And someone from DCR was a presenter.
Well, and Andrew is not, the person who designed the trail is not regularly here, and I know Doug likes it, Doug likes when he hands the mic over to somebody else.
Well, yeah, I'm not.
But I'd be happy to speak,
Either.
yeah.
And so you would want someone like Andrew who has studied these things, or Walker at least.
Or Walker,
Yeah.
right,
And
or
he's
like
very
the,
dynamic, yeah.
there's several of the members of the crew, I'd be happy to,
Contract.
to coordinate it. I've been involved with it since before the beginning.
Right, so it might be a nice add-on to the
Mhm.
grand opening.
Yeah, that sounds like a great meeting.
Do you know, yeah, I was gonna say, do you have thoughts of when you were thinking of a grand opening? Because I know there's a few different groups wanting to do things at Lake Wallace this year.
It's probably
To coordinate.
should be later, like August or
August,
later.
okay.
Yeah,
So-
just to give these guys time. I mean, they're pretty close to finish, but they want to tidy it up and they want to have, things
So-
grow back.
So if I
I
catch
know-
Walker or somebody else who's on the crew, I might be able to ask them.
He should be done by the end of June.
Okay.
I don't know how much overlap you'd want, and this is, I don't want to get too off. I know this was brought up and I was going to put it on the next agenda. The rec committee, I know the rec committee has on their agenda this week talking about an event at Lake Wallace, the possible run. So depending, this was in the first week of October, they were considering to do a fundraising trail run 5K and like a mile. That might be a really neat way to kind of see if we could coordinate as a grand opening event. Yeah, to bring fundraising dollars.
I think it'd be great, yeah.
Okay,
And
And
the
I-
weather is a little bit better than August.
okay.
Yes.
And I'll reel it back around to say,
More people.
I'll have it, it's officially on the list to be on the next
Yeah, unless it's.
agenda. To not, yeah.
When is the pocket?
Okay,
Well,
that's definitely.
That's what Pocket Park is supposed to be, that's why it's supposed to be like a whole thing. Yeah, because
Okay.
Pocket Park is supposed to be at the end, so we kept pushing, but it's like the rec is starting to talk about it too, so I want to put it on next agenda to say, okay, everybody coordinate together. Yeah.
Use sculpture
Yeah,
from-
we can add the
Yes,
bench
and
sculpture.
sculpture.
'Cause
Yeah.
the pocket coming together. I met with Linda and Max recently, and we placed it and got it all planned out. Their timeline to do it is in July.
Great.
So then it'll just be boop, boop, boop.
So like an official, like, woo, would be awesome.
But I just, if, coordinate with DPW.
Yes, everybody,
To
yeah.
make sure that that's done too, because I think if they're kind of like midway on that, it wouldn't be super great for them. But it
Yeah.
could be a nice place to hold it, or like hold part of it.
And that was the thought with trying to push it till like October, hoping that all of these pieces would be done by then. Yeah,
Donald Longley's sculpture, the heron, we can try to
Yeah.
make sure that's done, and then also the bench.
yeah. And Donald's on rec committee, so Donald will hear about it on
Oh,
Thursday as
perfect.
well. Yeah. So, okay, so next meeting, fall event at Lake Wallace, next meeting.
Right, and we preliminarily have it as Saturday, October 4th.
No way.
That's what we
That,
kind of worked on.
for the, for the run, yeah,
For the
so
run,
that, if
so-
that would coordinate well with that, that could be a whole Lake Wallace day.
Mhm.
We could just call it Lake Wallace Day
Yeah.
in Belchertown and annually Lake Wallace. I'm just saying, okay, I said we were staying on track tonight. We were supposed to stay on track. We need everything, yeah.
Next year. That'll be the next.
It's impossible to stay on track.
Bondsville.
Bonds, yeah.
But we're,
They, it doesn't have a name.
Steve wants to do it for
Yeah, the rail trail.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
right
that's all
there.
going on.
when we're-
Yeah.
There we go. That'll be the next. All right, see?
Yeah.
Next meeting's agenda.
Okay. Fantastic. Do you have any other updates? Perfect. Radically Rural Community Quilt Display and Programming. And I can take notes for you if you'd like, because
I just
You have
brought
the, okay, you have the quilt.
Jen and Lisa need to talk about it.
Yeah.
Well, the whole
Yeah,
thing
it's-
you can see.
Yeah.
Because you went to the conference.
Yes, Maud and I
It's upside down.
and Lisa Lissard Pearson and Mel Donovan from the Cultural Council went to this Radically Rural Summit last year. We have an additional ticket this year, and Allison would like it, but we could also send other people if they're interested, potentially. I don't know if we're trying the money, but that's another story. That's happening this fall. But at last year's summit, they, as part of one of their breakout sessions, did this social weaving. I think as part of there's a whole booklet, and I will not do it justice. You can speak about it because I was not involved. You want to
I was there.
Your name is
That's
on
back.
it.
I know, I contributed one of these. So it was around, it was kind of giving a snapshot of your community. So there were a series of questions, and each question
Yes.
had a color associated with it, and your answer was like the light version or the dark version of that color. And then they were all, you sewed them together with your group, and you talked about why you chose the ones that you chose to represent the community that you were referencing. And then they were all brought together here, and there were quilters from Keene, where the conference took place, who took it over and finished putting it together. And I know Mel also joined them and took part in helping to put together this joint quilt. But it was across like a day that this happened, and then was displayed the end of the day. It was magically fast.
Yeah.
But it was this kind of idea of like embodying the many hands make light work of this beautiful quilt, and also the responses and giving a kind of core sample of how people are feeling about like rural small towns.
And some of the questions on the back, I feel I am part of a community in the place where I live, and I believe art can foster community.
Yeah, these were the prompts that we were.
Yeah, the place where I live feels like it's more in a phase of regeneration or deterioration. Which actually is a really big question
Yeah.
for
Yeah.
rural.
Who most often makes change happen in the place where you live, grassroots or government? I've experienced community-based positive change in the place where I live.
Bixby privacy contents have been updated to continue.
Graphic representation of how people are feeling.
Yeah,
about their community.
Yeah.
So these folks, so this was from last year's event. This is a national event, I should also mention. So people fly in from all over to come to Keene. They don't have a conference center, so they chose to, they explained a lot of this morning, so it's fresh in my mind. They use their downtown basically as a conference center, so they had multiple locations. It highlighted what they have there in Keene, and then it was used to spark conversation. And so the booklet that accompanies that is ours to keep. And so we will have this book for 6 weeks. We can do whatever we want with it. And it was just amazing because they were like, do you want this quilt? We want to send it to you first because you had so many folks from Belchertown who works on the quilt. Also Ezekiel Baskin, who's a resident, who is on the board of Radically Rural, and was a speaker at this event, was also there also. So they were like, we wanted to go to multiple cities, but we wanted to go to Belchertown first. And we were like, okay, we'll take it. And then we were like, now what are we gonna do? And it was interesting because what it did for us, the people who were asked to do it, like Lisa and myself, and we started talking about all the things we could do with it. So it was like exactly like the thing. It's like basically a prompt. The quilt itself has now become like a prompt. So I know Lisa Lissard Pearson has asked if we can bring it to Pride. We could bring it to Food Truck Friday. Val Donovan has pitched this concept of doing some yarn bombing in and around the library or what have you. We felt it would maybe perhaps be best honed at the library for the duration, but it could travel around town, so we could talk about like where we might want to travel it. And then I had this cockamamie idea that like, we already have so many great examples of community engaged projects that we've already done in town, like the mural, our transfer station mural, 6 Berkshire mural, the electrical box mural, the viewfinder program, like, I mean, you name it, like we have a whole bunch of these to point to. And I was like, it would be great if we did like maybe like a photo exhibit with some like remarks about how we engage the community as part of like a larger type exhibit along with the quilt itself. There were prompts in that booklet. I think there's like a QR code that takes you to other things. So anyways, of course, who has time for any of this? We have it for 6 weeks. And we know it will definitely be housed at the library. Cindy has offered, they were like, make it dirty. They were like, spill coffee on it, like use it, like do whatever. So Cindy has offered either the table in the front or, you know, or like actually displaying it in some manner by the fireplace. So
Awesome.
It'd be nice to, like, you can't really see both sides.
Yeah.
So it'd be nice to have to, like,
If we could hang it
photograph
up.
one side and
Yeah.
back side.
oh, and the Sentinel met us, so I asked them to come when we met with these folks so that they could get firsthand the information about like what this thing is,
Nice.
why we have it, and why we're gonna have it for 6 weeks. So.
That's exciting. I know we were throwing around ideas before about doing some small form of programming at partnering, because I think the library is already representing at the upcoming events. Because I think you're at Pride already, right?
We're at Pride.
For the first Food Truck Friday, we'll still have it then, right? Or no,
Yeah,
is that on the end? Yeah, we'll still have it, right?
Yeah, we'll have it through that weekend.
Are you doing and then the first farmer's market's coming up soon.
June 8th.
So
we can have it there also.
if there's a group of volunteers, I know we're kind of throwing around it, or maybe I'm just imagining it, and Mel and I saw Mel separately. But there's a thought of, is there a way we could model this, but with scraps of paper and paste instead of, because that would be hard to have people out there quilting in the middle of Food Truck Friday. But if there was a way for people to donate scraps of paper and do it more scrapbook style, and you could have those prompts still, and then they could make little squares, and we could glue little squares together.
I mean, the folks that brought it down were like, you don't have to quilt. Like the idea was about how do you break down the, like how do you do, some of the sessions were like play, like how it's almost as they get older, they get away from play. So getting your, and then also how you form connections when you do things together, right? Like it was really interesting. So I spent a couple of hours with them. Lisa had to leave, but we took them around town a little bit. And one of the questions she's like, do you have a lot of friends? And I was like, yeah, all my friends are people that I worked with on committees in town. That is where I met them, and that is where I formed bonds with them, you know. And it's true. It's like you create your own little tribes based off of the work that you do together, because then you have a basis of foundation of things that you do. I don't know. Anyhow.
I thought it was a great conversation too, because sometimes I feel like you get so lost in everything that you're doing that you don't often get a chance to sit back and say, wow, when they're asking questions about all the things that we are doing here and that we have accomplished, they were kind of taken back and saying, wow, you're kind of like an example of a rural community that is succeeding. So it was nice to hear. It's also reaffirming that the work is valid.
Yeah.
I don't know. I said yes, and it's here. I don't know what else. You know, Mel really wants to yarn bomb, which I think is a great idea because we have the woolies and teen crochet thing, and I know that Bren Aldrich and I have talked in the past about yarn, making art with yarn, on buildings and things, and she was like, I want to do that. So she's definitely a person to get in touch with over on Saka. I mean, and they do their own kind of stuff over on Saka also.
I was gonna say, Brenda,
for that like soccer at some point.
Yeah.
too.
Yes, I think we should put it in
Yeah.
Rosetta, actually. So someone should
Hmm.
contact her.
That'd be good to have it there. Yeah.
Gotta contact them,
Yeah.
for anything, with them.
Yeah.
But Jane Crutchfield is probably the most well-known quilter in our community. And even in the Congo church, they have people coming and they have the quilt show.
Yeah.
And then they have the fabric sale and stuff, and Joanne's is gone, we've got people desperate for fabric that they cannot order online. But maybe touch base with Jane, find out if she has any ideas for what.
She's away for 2 weeks,
She's away for
but I can, I mean, when she gets back.
Yeah.
And we have so many amazing artisans in our community.
I mean, I would totally volunteer time to help do fun community event kind of pairing with it
When's the
at the
first week?
locations. The 20th, right?
20th.
First food truck is the 20th.
Yes.
Looking for
Pride is the
confirmation.
first.
Yeah. Pride is the first.
What is Pride?
What is Pride?
What is
I've never been
Pride?
to a Pride event. Pride.
It is.
Belchertown.
We're celebrating Belchertown Pride.
It's gonna be on the common, 40
June
vendors,
Mhm.
June bars.
First
artists
one.
Doing things
The
outside.
teen band
Is
is
that
playing
It's
ultraviolet.
Sunday.
Nice.
Yep, I think it's one.
I have to. I don't know the actual time.
They've been doing it a while.
1 to 5. This is the first
one.
one.
ever.
First
It is
one.
very exciting.
Incredibly exciting.
The chamber sort of thing.
No, it is through our DEI task force
Oh.
that the town has put together,
Wow.
and,
Okay.
yeah, Vinny DuPont, who's on our police force,
Yeah.
is almost like, I mean, he has been a huge driver in this
Oh,
event, and
okay.
he's Sarah Pearson on our board. I mean, they started with a proclamation and a flag raising
Mhm.
3 years ago.
Yep.
Oh, okay.
And we're having a
it
pride.
has- And every year they wanted to build, and they wanted to build, and now this year they're,
Yep.
it exploded out of the box,
Oh,
it was
okay.
amazing.
That would make sense.
I'm really hung up on this exhibit idea. I feel like it could easily be pulled together as some sort of like a big
Yeah.
poster board of some of the things that we've done already.
With it?
Like these.
Yeah.
things. How did you
I mean, we didn't, the designers did, but that could be done in Canva.
Yeah.
We have
Is
an
it Canva?
account at Paradise Copies.
Minimal.
Yeah.
Minimal
Maybe
cost
so.
for things like that.
Yeah, so maybe we could pull some like just a few posters of examples of
Yeah.
our community engaged.
I have mural pictures. I have the professional pictures. We
Yeah.
took up the mural.
Like the stuff we did at Reflections, we had talked about.
We have,
Oh no, that was Ritesh.
no, but we have pictures
have
of
pictures,
reflection.
Reflection.
Yeah.
Um,
It'd be easy to get around and get pictures of
yeah,
everything.
graffiti jam.
So, okay, so just because I promised we'd kind of stay streamlined, because
Can I
it's
suggest
easy.
We do a working group.
Yeah. Woo. At least it's not called a committee. So, okay. And there's other individuals outside of this room, though, that would want to be a part of this working group, because this is larger than just here.
Yeah. That's the
Um,
beauty of working groups. Is that
yeah,
they can-
so I will definitely, I know I want to be part of this.
I think Mel for sure.
Yeah.
Mel, I know, wants to be part of it. It's living at the library, not saying you need to be, but it's living at the library. I'm just thinking of a central, yeah.
I'm happy to start a Canva,
Okay.
be a part of it and like start a Canva page, and then we can.
Because we don't have to officially, I mean, are we saying are we the committee officially taking this on as leading this? Or are we just saying, okay, we're gonna support this as in we know a member of the committee, 2 members of the committee want to be part of this, 3 members of the committee, however that works, and just say, okay, very cool, that's how we as a committee are supporting this. That's my question, just to kind of the streamlineness of it.
I don't think it lives anywhere.
Because like, it's such a short time frame. I don't
It
think
is a
we have
short
time to
timeframe.
have this like live somewhere. So,
Yeah.
okay. All right. So I know Mel was part of this, right?
Mel
Yeah. Okay.
offered to take the lead on it.
I'll email Mel then. Okay. And then we'll just, whoever wants to, then we'll just have Mel be that lead kind of person and we chat and then, yeah.
Yeah, we get
Cool.
to reach out to
Yeah.
Ezekiel.
Ezekiel, yes. And I know Ezekiel as well.
Yeah, they also
Yeah.
took part in this.
They took part in it. All right. And they have their whole theater production and
We're gonna be
the barn.
pretty preoccupied town meeting day, but it would be, like, if it was there.
Oh, yeah.
We could,
There's no reason why, right?
So,
Just have it at the gym at the.
so
Do you wanna send an email and the rest of you?
I'm on a thread with Mel, so I'll just say that, and then we just have to be careful as a committee to not have quorum of who's interested. So what's our quorum number? 5, right? Are we 5 quorum? I'll have to look, because we're 8. We have 8 official people on. I said just for us, we just have to make sure that we don't put too many of us being interested in this to make quorum with our committee. Yeah, so that's why I'm just saying like who's in 4 or fewer. Okay. So we'll keep it to 4 or fewer. If there's other people that want to be more, I'm just saying if needed, I'll raise my hand to keep helping out with stuff. Because I know everybody helps out with everything and everyone raises their hand for everything in this room. Okay. So if there ends up being more than 4 people on a chain, we'll modify that. But as of right now, I know you're not technically a member, so you're okay. All right, Jill, you want to be involved? I'll be involved as needed. You're kind of automatically involved with the library. Congratulations, Cindy. Okay, awesome. Cool. We did it.
You can see, I'm on the chain, so Sarah, you can drop me from the chain.
Or
I think
do you want to be dropped off?
Probably, so that we don't end up with quorum, and I'll just stay focused on the trash gala part of this, like, timeline.
Okay.
If that's okay. I mean, I'll
Yeah.
help however you want, but just if we're reaching quorum, which sounds like we're getting close.
Okay. All right, that sounds perfect, and then we'll monitor it and adjust as needed.
I just feel like we need one project manager for this.
I think.
Is that you, Lisa?
No, it's not Lisa. I'm not gonna give it
Mel.
to Lisa.
Mel. Mel was saying they were gonna kind of take the lead, at least on the yarn bombing idea, and then Mel said that they would kind of take the lead, so we can just chat.
Let me see if I can maybe.
See if you can,
Just cause
yeah.
like, I would like to go to.
Because I
the
think
senior
we're looking
center.
at a couple different sections of ideas. Yeah,
And it's White Day.
okay.
June 21st.
So let's,
It will.
It will be here. We need to ship it out probably that Monday.
We'll ship it out on the 23rd.
Are you putting signage with it, or is somebody just gonna
Yeah, so
narrate?
it comes with the book. It doesn't have any
Yeah.
narration.
and I think we're gonna make a sign explaining it.
Okay.
Yeah,
Like, you could have a tape. We could
Yeah.
figure something out.
So
okay.
like, when I say project, I just need to like know the dates, like, or like, I'm thinking spreadsheet.
Okay. So we'll make sure creative economy involvement is under quorum. We'll adjust if it at some point hits over 4 people discussing. We'll make sure that it stays under quorum to involve in this and just as a support, another event happening, volunteering as support. Exciting. Okay. Town signage bylaws and artisan shed update.
Okay, so I met with Doug and Paul. And, first thing that Paul would like us to focus on, is we need a definition for farm stand.
Okay.
And many places in their definition includes artisan things. In Paul's research, I did more research and stuff and looking things up, but it just says, it all talks about the farm stands, including artisan stands, can sell handmade, homemade, whatever you find, soaps, even art and other things. They caution you not to define a farm stand by its size, because a farm stand can be a table, a farm stand can be like Sully's, a giant building, down there. But we don't have a definition, and there are many. So my hope is that everyone will take a peek, just do some Googling around.
Okay.
Paul had done a bit of it, but the food isn't the only thing sold at farm stands. Can be art, soap, flowers, home decor items, everything. That is where I think those details, so farm stand can mean artisan stand. We can put farm/artisan stand.
Okay.
My worry, one of my worries that I talked with Doug and Paul about was that we had here in this town, most people remember, it was like 2 locations that had permanent tag sales. So I would call those resellers, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Not farm stand.
Yeah.
That would, no, but I mean defining, so we don't even know what the next person has created yet. We don't want to describe every single thing that can be created and sold, that simply can't be done, but we know it's not reselling.
Okay.
And perhaps putting verbiage in there that says no resellers, or, and then, I don't know, does that fall into any shaky character territory with like the cricket people who buy the tumblers and put the stickers on and
Well,
buy
and I'm
the.
thinking of if there's any, because kind of thinking of any of a smaller artisan that's looking to help support other smaller artisans, what are the kind of, where does it get in that gray area
Well,
too?
we'll
Yeah,
talk
and then
about
that's
that.
the
We'll get-
reselling, okay.
That's the other thing. And see Doug's face.
Yeah,
Because
because it goes into
we're
different,
going to have to make a recommendation
Yeah.
or something to the select board that, and however we do it, so that we're gonna allow it and define it. But when it comes to the sheds, now we need more definitions on that. One is, I had a debate back and forth, I say sheds are temporary. They put them on trucks and they move them. You can do a stick-built shed and anchor it, to your thing. In that case, I think you have to meet all the setbacks. But currently, having 40 feet setback from the road doesn't exactly enable an artisan to open up and sell anything. And it's not like it's tomatoes and zucchini and stuff that can get wet. Most of this stuff can't be, and has to be in a place that can be secured. So what classifies as a temporary structure?
okay.
Do sheds
Yeah.
that come in on trucks, and sit on bricks, and aren't permanent. And we would have to put together to make those recommendations, but the first thing Paul wants us to do is define it.
Okay.
And then we can add it there, and then think about how we're going to adjust with the structure piece. Because anybody can put a table out or back, sell stuff out of their house, but not to the degree that people want to have it. Now, we know that there's at least one artisan shed shack that is taking consignments. That's retail.
Yeah.
I don't know what to do about that. Right now, what we're doing is we're going like this, but we don't see it. Even the setbacks and everything, just like, waiting for a neighbor to complain, I don't know, then what do we do? If it was allowed there. So that's something more to think about, that we're gonna do it. That kind of taking on other artisans' work. You can have an artisan who does beautiful work, but they can't sit in there and sell, so they're looking for some place where they can sell their work.
Okay.
I don't know how that's managed, but I do know, like Paul said, the example, that I'm not saying out loud, right? There's not a tax-paying retail business in town. There are some tax-paying retail businesses in town that could complain.
And I think one piece of this, and I think of our cottage businesses in town, of talking about pop-ups in this, of seeing a definition of the cottage businesses that put a table out to sell on a Sunday or do pop-up events. So somehow within these definitions for that business as well, if it's something like, because it's kind of a gray area again.
It is.
Yeah.
Are you talking about?
Molly has
No, it's
hand
not.
raised. Molly has hand raised.
I'm talking about artists,
Yeah.
artists being able to,
I'm gonna I'm
Sorry,
gonna say
sorry the hand
Molly,
raising is so
Molly
dramatic.
with hand raised, thank you.
Sorry about that. I didn't realize it was past 7 and I can only stay till 7 today. I'm outside of my normal routine. I'm in Boston, so I need to go. It was lovely to see you all. Thank you, and I'll check out the notes for the rest of the meeting.
Bye, thank you, Molly.
So yeah, we need to come up with a lot of definitions, as it were, but I think that, you know, and we had discussed being able to help artisans,
Yeah.
until we can make something for them, let's just allow
Yep,
them to do it
yeah.
themselves.
Absolutely.
In whatever way possible, while we're looking at other things.
So right now, basically our first step is to create a definition for farm stand, artisan shed, define what that is.
Right.
Okay, that's step one right now.
That is step one.
Beautiful. Okay.
Right now, when it comes to those things. And then once we get the definition for what they are, then we can work on the other things like all the setback requirements and defining
Fantastic.
temporary, and that's the piece on the farm stand artisan shed, at least.
As part of this, we have great lists of our local artisans and farmers in town. Do we want to include them in part of this? I'm not saying like all the info with them, but is this a good opportunity for once we kind of create these general first level definitions to pose a few questions to our artisans and farm agricultural partners in town to say, hey, does this fit your need? Are we missing something
I
here?
think everybody would
Yeah.
know, and we talked to
Yeah.
Jen about this too, about,
Yeah.
you know, we have plans. I'm not calling them dreams anymore.
Yeah.
We have plans. We just gotta get them executed and make them happen. But until then, we need to
Okay.
just prove that it can. So
Yeah.
yes, I think involving people in the, and then the same thing with the next piece being the signage bylaws. Did you
So
look
that brings us to the next,
to the next?
yeah, I'm applying for a one-stop grant to do a comprehensive revision of our zoning, which hasn't happened in 33 years.
Of our zoning.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just
Yeah, we had talked about
kind of adjusted here and there, so it's all disjointed, and the map doesn't match the bylaw, and nothing matches the plans. So we gotta fix that. And that's a big project, but
That
we're
is
gonna
a
include your,
huge project,
include
yeah.
your pieces.
And that will, that'll encompass.
It'll also enrage everyone in town.
It will, but with that also, it's a comprehensive plan, so it includes the land, under control of the BEDIC as
Oh,
well.
yeah, the whole thing.
Nice.
Perfect. Good. Hand up?
Jen.
I just want to go back that we were gonna do this was
Mhm.
Gather, this was exactly what
I know,
Gather was.
I know.
So, you know, Lisa and I even met with, Feel Good Shop Local,
Mhm.
owner of that organization, and I keep coming back to, we have a space, an empty space in town, and I don't know why we can't just do it. We could potentially pay for it to be self-funded if we ask for a low fee from the artisans to just stock their stuff there, and potentially that would be enough to pay for somebody to man the space, but it would be centralized, right? I don't know, I feel like it's such low hanging fruit and there's such a need, and there's such a need for all of these people to come together, even with the one that's doing consignment, there's a reason that
Yeah.
is successful.
Oh, yeah.
And because there's no place for folks to just go
Yeah.
and have a store outlet
Yeah.
because we don't have that infrastructure
Mhm.
that's affordable. But the town could do that for a low cost. I think insurance is the thing that
Yeah.
is the stickler,
Insurance
just
came
like
up.
it would be for the farmers market.
Insurance came up and capacity to run it.
And
yeah.
capacity to run it, but if.
And
again,
organize it.
if
That
you
was-
opt-
yeah.
If you ask for like a rental, like a booth fee or
Yeah.
whatever, that could potentially cover the cost of somebody to man it.
Don't overlook Aunt Joan.
Oh, yeah, no, Ann
Just-
Sheldon
No,
was a
that's
part of all of
those
this.
But what
Yeah.
I'm saying
Yeah.
is that
Yeah.
could be an extension
Yeah.
of Ransaca.
Yeah, I mean, they do have that back room also,
Yeah.
but they do like crafting and
Yeah.
stuff back there.
Right, so they take 30%,
Mhm.
which is pretty reasonable of all, and they are looking to progress to just doing that, just having it be.
Yeah.
Artisans, they wanna stop selling $2 cups, and, you know.
And I mean, it's a
getting bigger
conversation to
bang for
keep
their
having.
buck. But that's what I was
Yeah.
wondering, if we even had an off-site, if they wanted to keep that there and make it attractive and offer community options,
Yeah.
they're manning it.
I hear you. I mean, I think for me, it's the proof of concept because
Yes.
Right.
ultimately what we want to do with Tagil is that similar
Yeah.
model. And I
Yeah.
mean, hopefully, if it all, we'll see what
And
the results of these
The whole
results.
model's there. There's branding for
Right.
it. There's the
It is.
entire model's there, like
Right.
literally in a file with branding,
Yeah.
marketing,
Everything.
everything is there.
Yep.
Yeah, which is the frustrating part. But
Right.
it's and insurance can be there's ways around insurance, not around, but there's ways you would just do it similar as the farmers market does insurance. Yeah. It's like a tiered insurance, but it's just the actual who's owning the space is always the thing, and then the running it
Right.
and organizing
so
it.
like, or say like,
Yeah.
you know, say we had another nonprofit entity that was renting the space and they operated on that space and the fees were given to the.
I don't know who that one is.
I don't know who.
I don't know who that
But
is.
I mean, you know, stranger things have
Trying.
Exactly.
I mean, we have a giant sprawling thrift store in the
Yeah.
senior center.
We do.
Yeah.
So I still think even if Gather was still to happen, as a person who had a small cottage bakery in town for a short period of time, looking at this, even if we do Gather, is still important for our farmers. Yeah.
Yes.
I think it's a partnership in both A and B.
Now we have just this week, our newest cottage bakery.
Yep.
Yeah, 700 Franklin Street.
Yeah, I saw another one. Yeah,
That's
good.
the other one,
Good.
right? It's
No, it's good,
like
though.
They were all
We needed it.
They were all together
Yes.
in one centralized location.
Yes.
They were all
But
together.
yes.
See, that was my idea of
yes.
a bakery co-op.
Yes, and
Yes, Doug,
we
yes,
tried to make that
exactly.
idea come to a reality. There was not enough money. We need more money.
More money.
So
Live meeting. Anyone out there? We need more money.
Allison,
We need money.
And I just want to also say, in accordance with the
Yeah.
shed thing, so that's why Cheryl and I had this like
Yeah.
building
Yeah.
conversation the other day,
It's
because they had a town village that they created with sheds. They literally.
oh yeah, no.
They literally put a bunch of sheds.
And
I'm like,
that's-
okay, we could do that right in front of Christopher.
I wanna say-
Have like a town village market.
Literally, like I want to say, what year are we in? Are we in 2025? Probably 2021, 2022. That was an idea that came up because I forget what grant it was that we were thinking of, but it was just the sheer capacity of where could this go? Who's going to manage that? Because Boston does the whole little village too.
They do the
And it would be really cool. Hi, Allison. Thank you. I'm a bad moderator. Hi, Allison.
Is she talking?
Oh, no, we can't hear you, Allison. If you want, we need to have the chat open. Okay, if you want to chat, we can see the chat, but we can't hear you.
Is she chatting? So frustrating when you want to hear what
I
somebody has
know.
to say.
Well,
Okay.
maybe I can just kind of,
Okay.
there we go.
REPG.
The
What's
idea
that?
Jen said
What's
about
an
the
RPG?
village.
So the village is that thing I sent to,
Right. that's
like,
what
only
you
a
sent
couple
out.
of you, so
Right.
some of you may have no idea.
RDB grant, is it rural
Rural
development
development block.
block?
All
What
good
is
keywords.
it?
That's it.
Okay, this is Rural Business Development Grant.
Okay, well, you just keep that in our back pocket.
Okay,
Exactly.
Okay.
all right,
Right.
okay,
So
so,
define,
Thank you, Allison.
perfect. Thank you, Allison.
and then if
Here we go.
the branding committee.
Thank you, Doug.
The brand, I have a question before getting into the signage bylaws. The branding committee had a lot of signage questions on their survey.
Because we're working together, the wayfinding and the branding.
I understand,
Oh, okay.
but business people, there was a direct question, on there a couple times. And then somebody said business people had expressed signage. things, when they were filling out the survey and stuff like that. I'm just wondering if there's any input, comments and everything else from businesses currently in town specific, because I'd like everybody to take a look at the signage bylaws. They don't scream that we're friendly to businesses, and we're trying to fix that and get more businesses here. So it's, like there's all kinds of rules on the sizes and placement and off premises, no banner signs.
Yeah.
A quick drive-through, just on the main roads today, and I counted 20 banner signs, they're not allowed at all.
Jill, Cheryl.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We're at quorum
We're
still.
still have
Yeah.
more. So they just, I talked to Doug, let's look at the signage bylaws, make it so businesses, it's helpful to them. To have the signs, I don't know why in particular, but,
It'll be within this comprehensive
Yep.
revision.
Yeah.
That Doug was just talking
Yeah.
about.
not on zoning bylaws.
It will, he's doing signage, so he's doing signage and zoning. Cause we brought it up at the one-stop meeting and he said, oh, why don't I go for
Okay, he
everything?
didn't have that at our meeting, he did talk
But I
about the
think-
zoning, but not the
Yeah,
signage.
at the meeting we had around one-stop
Yeah.
coordination, he said that it could be folded.
Yes.
Because-
Signage can be folded
yeah.
in. Okay.
So, and to help us with capacity. So that's why he said he's gonna go for grant money to help with capacity, but I think what we could still at least do is just bullet point out, like, if there's items on that, to just highlight items that, again, can be seen as hindering to the development of our local businesses and artisans, and that could then be part of that recommendation. And I'm sure it's going to be a community-driven, and we can push for a community-driven process when we get that grant.
Yeah, he's going for community planning grant for everything.
Comprehensive zoning bylaw revision,
Yeah.
including that, yes, thank you, Allison. Yeah, so signage, I remember at the meeting, signage was specifically said out loud in that.
Yes,
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah, it'll be very community involved, I love it, yes,
Good.
yes.
And just because I was like, we straight up say that the very first complete sentence on our signage bylaws are to ensure that signage does not contribute to a visual blight upon the landscape and the character of the town of Belchertown.
As a lot of small towns have now.
Yes, that's our goal, but, blight is a terrible
Yeah.
word for a
Yes.
business owner's lovely sign that they just paid $5,000 for, or whatever amount of money. They think their sign's great, we're going, your sign's blight on the community.
So in the interest of time, we're gonna hop over to the MBI grant as well, which is the other one of these one-stop updates. So we had a meeting today with the program officer for the Mass Downtown Initiative, and she gave us a lot of feedback. So if you all remember, we had market study, big town-wide market study. And in the one-stop meeting, we came to a place where it had to kind of be winnowed down. So there's a lot of priorities for the town this year. And so every other grant program is basically like claimed by another one of the priorities, but including the like that. And all the, and there's several others as well. There's a couple around Tagil. They're all really high need. So the Mass Downtown Initiative is structured to be technical assistance. This is a program we got our Wayfinding consultants through. And you basically, if awarded, are connected with a consultant who does the kind of work that you're looking to do, and they offer you the $30,000 worth of service and kind of technical support. So we have to kind of hone our idea pretty significantly. Mass Downtown Initiative is by definition focused on the economics of downtowns. They recognize that we don't have a downtown per se, not a city, but that in small towns, the villages or town common, town center are where that activity happens. So we already have that zone established. That's for the area there for the wayfinding. Right now, we need to really hone in. So we had a few different ideas of directions we could go with this. And what we're hoping to do tonight is to identify a recommendation that we can make to Steve and Doug and Jen to make a decision on where we prioritize this work. So a couple of those ideas include, one is a study to look at where the kind of differentiating spending between residents and tourists and businesses within the study area to help get us a snapshot for tourism. This is also something where if we did another study a few years down the road, we could use that as impact over time.
that with zip code?
I mean, it would be up to the person, but a lot of times that will be interviewing your local businesses. You'll do like traffic studies, not in the sense of literally car driving, but you'll be doing kind of like spending traffic studies. Yeah. So we have a pretty good spread of different businesses in town, both new and have been here. So that would be one. Established. Thank you. Thank you for making my words more eloquent. Yeah, so that would be kind of in my thought with this is one key way, and then there would be some straight up data that you'd be pulling from there, but and community involvement, and yeah.
All of these would require a community engaged process of some variety. That would be like business community stakeholders, residents, tourists, etc. The second idea was a restaurant study for drawing restaurants into the town for more variety, etc. A third idea would be addressing a concern brought up by a hotel of what goes on here between Sunday and Thursday. What are the dollars that got spent on those kind of between the weekend days? The fourth idea would be a business development strategy. So kind of action plan for supporting current businesses. And 5 would be to develop a tourism marketing plan. So basically how best to present and market this core area and sustain it. And to kind of build off of this kind of idea that Lisa was talking about around like this tourism website that is like really in this early kind of gestation, and to develop that further. So those are the 5 different ideas. I'm sorry to just like.
Yeah. So for business development?
Business development strategy. I included it just in case, but that one was kind of like in that we've been talking about how, I'm sorry, I'm kind of like end of day. That process of growth, like from being at a stand at the market to being maybe in an incubator to storefront, et cetera, like that growth, how can you support that and also keep it staying here? And we know already that there are some limitations, like facilities, infrastructure wise, so it might be premature to do that study. It was our thinking.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, it's good on the list, but it's like, we're almost not quite there yet, because we need a few layers before that.
Developers, infrastructure before we even get to that point.
Yeah.
The restaurant, we have diversity of restaurants at the moment. So we got that one.
So
I really like this tourist.
The first one.
Resonated
so which one? The first one, the dollar spend? Yeah, and that kind of comes out of just the last 5-6 years. That's one of the data sets we haven't really captured with a lot of the work that's been going on.
Because also sort of want to combine it. I just don't.
But let us know with what though. But it's all about how can we word it because essentially they were like, you need a final product.
Right. Yeah.
So it's like, okay, what's your combining?
Right. Well, I want to know how do we highlight and bring tourists to town, right? Like, how do we market? But like, how is it that I had a townie
throwing things over here?
Townie tell me that they had just visited the Lake Wallace Trail extension and had no idea that it exists, right? Like somebody who has deep roots, generational, had no idea. Oh, this is a hidden gem, and I'm like it's not so hidden. We're like screaming about it, but how do we like get the word out to residents and the broader community? Like,
so I think personally the way to go is with the tourism piece because it's laying the foundation for all of the other things that make us visible, marketable,
So-
highlights what we have, highlights what we're doing. And it can be used basically as like the marketing.
So the tourism marketing plan, or are you talking about the
Yeah,
website?
the website. Because then that feels too, like it's a building block to the other steps that can come next.
And I'd say the other piece is like some of the dollars spent tourism we could eventually use, what's the word I'm thinking of? I work in it. Next year, you already used all of it this year.
Oh, the deal.
DLTA funds for next year. So like that, we could find people who know how to do that, additional resources for that piece of it, where if we're looking, if MDI specializes in more, not flashy, but more substantial piece, like Lisa said, that could be used as a marketing tool.
I feel like it
But-
goes along, so we did the brand, we're doing branding and wayfinding.
Just
and
watching
that's
to see
like
if Allison has
natural
input.
progression would be like the
Yeah.
tourism marketing.
Yep.
Well, and I don't know if this is something that's already kind of understood about it, but I think one of the things that I get from people in Belchertown is that, like there's a lot of people who consider it to be a very, sort of insulated place. And that it's actually not.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people who are coming here from a lot of different areas, and there's a potential to communicate to people in town how valuable it is to promote. And so I feel like that's like several tiers in, but I think it's just a not obvious, like your vignette about the guy in town who didn't know.
I didn't know until COVID.
Yeah.
About the trail system, the extensive trails and honor conservation and all of the things that like really are unique. Not unique because we live in the valley, so there's lots of trails everywhere, but like,
The resources
They are
that
natural
are underutilized and underappreciated.
and the signage is not, we already know the
Well,
signage is not great wayfinding to
And
conservation.
I think part of this also needs to be how, because we've been talking a lot about the brand of Belchertown, talking a lot about how Belchertown views itself, and knowing kind of the trigger words sometimes to use and not to use. Like you just said, a lot of people view Belchertown as we're insular, we're Belchertown, we're here, we don't want, like, don't come here. So how do we then approach tourism in a way that it's not so tourism, that it's not so like we were saying, it might,
It's a destination.
so how do we highlight these things in a way that makes it Belchertown proud, in a sense of bringing that pride of your sense of community and educating our local individuals, and then tricking, like kind of doing it, oh, this is also a tourism draw.
Yeah, something more like explore about your town rather than visit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. Like explore, like kind of using that wording to make it so it's like, yes, this is for you who live here,
Yes.
but this is also helping highlight for those who don't live here. Just like we go walk on trails in Amherst. We want Amherst to be able to find our trails here too. And then go eat at the restaurant, and then we want them to go down, walk on the trail, and then go eat at the new restaurant downtown, and then they go home. Like day tourism is what will really attract.
And this is also, today we talked with Radically Rural, and they were saying how a lot of times in rural communities, you have to highlight the assets that you have and not recreate the wheel.
Yep.
And that's how.
Oh, she had a term for it.
She did, and I can't remember it.
Asset capacity development. Something asset and building for those.
And I was like, oh, that sounds really good, I should write it down. But that, it ties into that too, and it also makes me think about the MOC conference and the travel trends, 2025 and beyond, and it's really outdoor recreation, and how do you highlight and get that information out to the greater community?
Sounds like,
Capacity building.
so is that kind of, it sounds like there's some pretty strong consensus here? What do you
I
think?
also feel too like it would be great to have support built in for building this, because starting this website is gonna be a lift.
Well, if we get a study that recommends the how and how to sustain it,
Yeah.
we can use that to
Yeah.
try and like fund for implementation.
Yeah.
Maybe even like something like rural development for like.
Yeah, there's
staff.
also, there used to be technology grants. I'd have to look if they're there still, but yeah, there's a couple of there's a couple municipal technology grants out there as well. Yeah. Okay.
Well, and I think there's opportunity through the MOOR, the Massachusetts outdoor,
Yeah.
what's the other office of
Yeah.
recreation? Office of Outdoor Recreation. And that was a lot of the conversation was about like raising the profile of all of the places across the state and directing monies that are available to helping places promote what they've got.
Okay, this feels really great. So we've got some good like next steps for this. So it sounds like we're recommending the tourism marketing plan to you.
Great.
And Steve and Doug.
Question, when you're, when you're talking about even the townspeople not knowing about Lake Wallace, that's absolutely true, I run across them constantly. And, I mean, Mass Fisheries and Wildlife, it's like right here, the News and
Yeah.
Awesome Magazine.
Yeah.
Why couldn't we invite you on that?
Yeah. If there's enough people still working in the office.
Well,
Oh, guess what's it's Mass Fishing?
it's Mass, it's
Yes.
not the sets. And I think that they hired most of them back, they tried.
Yeah.
But it's Mass, I'm just, I'm
Yeah.
talking Mass Fish and Wildlife, and I think they like doing that kind of stuff, and especially, they're a printed magazine that they put out, and it's online and everything else, but, the critter events and stuff, they are so fanatical about educating and bringing on new things. I know that my son had called them and say about stopping, and it was like, hey, how come you guys don't stock this section and everything, and then they started to. And they were like thrilled to death, we're so glad to get this call, because we only know where we've been doing it, not, where the need is or where populations have come up. I just think they could be a good resource in helping, and it might be good to partner an event on Lake Wallace Day.
Yeah.
Like, Wallace
October 7th.
Make tracks to Lake Wallace.
Okay. So for the grant, for the grant application, and the recommendation we'll make for Jen, Steve, powers that be, can call it the Explore Belchertown. I just wrote it down. Explore Belchertown Tourism Marketing Plan, essentially.
Yeah.
Yeah, more or less. It can evolve as it goes, but awesome. That was a really great, quick consensus. That was fantastic. Okay. I know we have chamber partnership and next steps on the agenda. I don't know if there's any updates, if we want to just keep it on a rolling.
So
Yeah.
basically,
Okay.
so the memberships for local businesses have been happening. We wanted to celebrate them kind of as a cohort. In theory, that's for, like, they want to finalize the rest of the ones. They're kind of getting staggered as they get finalized. So we need to wait until they're all finalized to be able to celebrate them as a cohort, and that's still TBC.
Okay. Great, so I'll just keep it rolling on the agenda till we have some solid, okay.
So the people who had taken advantage or whatever of the scholarship for the chamber, like,
So there's a few of them who have already been publicly announced by the chamber.
okay,
What we had said was we'd love to celebrate them all together as a part of this program and as a cohort. And they're like, oh, great, but some of them aren't finalized yet with their paperwork, so they've been promoting and announcing them on like a rolling basis. So we're just gonna try and like tie it together and frame it in like a moment, as a cohort, when they get them finalized.
okay, because I was just wondering, because I I was one of the people that,
Oh,
but I
fantastic.
haven't heard
Yeah.
anything,
Okay.
from it yet.
Oh, great,
Since
so,
we were at the golf course that night.
great, well, congratulations,
Well, thank
I'm
you.
so glad that you did that. So
But
they're
I'm just
likely
waiting
to
to hear.
announce you soon,
Okay?
if you're finalized.
So I'm not, but I haven't.
Oh, okay. Then you-
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'll follow up with them, because I haven't, and I'm like,
so
okay.
they're the administrators of the program,
Okay.
and we're like the sponsors, and then we're partnered
Yeah,
in like
it
the.
was like, just give him your card, and when I went and talked to him, he goes, great, this is
Yeah.
awesome, you're in the,
I would follow up.
the card went in his pocket, I
Yeah.
haven't heard anything.
Yeah, definitely follow up.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
All right, next meeting agenda requests, I'll send out the notes, ask, so far I have committee charge request update, so I'm just waiting to get that on the select board, to do that official. So I should have an update by our next meeting. We'll talk about fall event at Lake Wallace, which is going to expand.
Can I ask you a question on that right now?
Yes.
Because before we present it to the select board, is the state's timetable on, because our charge still pretty much says it's about getting.
Oh, for the creative, we don't know any, we don't have any new information on that. So I would say we keep it, because
Keep it
that,
in.
because we put in some writing, and I'll send it out again, but, yeah.
So we don't need to look at it.
Yeah, because it's such a rolling thing with the cultural district piece. Yeah,
Designation.
yeah, so, okay.
Is it like 2 years?
We're rolling. We're going, we're trucking, we're doing this.
Longer for other things. So.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so, but we're still here and we have a purpose. We have a purpose.
And persistence.
Yes, and we're persistent. So next meeting is 6/9/2025 at 5:45 PM.
And that'll be my last meeting with you.
No,
Sorry.
never.
I don't know if you're excited about
I know,
Yeah.
I know, I don't know. That was too excited.
Glee right there.
That was too excited.
Oh, it's getting late, so.
All right, so yes, I believe we do have to make an actual motion to adjourn, right? Yes. Okay, but I can't make it. Okay.
Second.
Okay, all in favor? Aye. All opposed? None. Thank you. All right, the meeting is adjourning at 7:39 PM. Thank you very much, everyone. Thank you, Allison.
The name of that play, the Park Commons, called The Flood.